All right. Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. Believe it or not, I have gone almost a whole year without reviewing matches from two promotions I usually review matches from, that being TNA and ECW. And thankfully, we're going to rectify at least one of those right here, right now. I'm not getting enough of the wrestling company food groups here on the channel. Let's not. So this kind of serves a dual purpose. That's the first purpose. The other one is that if you remember last year or around the time of Awful Month, I reviewed James Storm versus Chris Harris in a blindfold match, and probably one of if not the absolute worst TNA matches of all time. People didn't like the blindfold match, and that's putting it lightly. Your matches just absolutely peak when and you get a Fire Russo chant and among other things going on. Oh, uh, so there is that. But that took place at a lockdown of 2007. But what would happen when these two decide to rematch at Sacrifice? Let's find out. Is it better than the blindfold match? Well, we're not in awful month, so I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, and you probably knew that already. So let's see what happens when and the four members of America's Most Wanted collide once again. This time in a Texas death match. I'm of course talking about TNA Sacrifice 2007 as James Storm battles Chris Harris. So for starters, as always, I'm not a professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I definitely had a fantastic time. This match blows Lockdown way out of the water, or like they more than made up for it. And I feel like a part of me feels like, and this is kind of just my little head canon, I feel like that was probably the point. They were probably like, that lockdown match didn't go the way we wanted. Uh, let's let's run it back one more time. This time at Sacrifice, and lo and behold, they definitely delivered here at Sacrifice. And they, for lack of a better term, sacrificed quite a bit for the sake of this match. So let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. However, if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. So starting with what I liked, and kind of in a way, this is continuing the feud between the two. At this point, Chris Harris fully regained his sight, and actually, I think he had fully regained his sight by the time we had gotten to lockdown. It's just he wanted James Storm to feel the blindness that he felt, so thus the blindfold. Oh, um, yeah, yeah. You see, Chris Harris. That's why they say two wrongs don't make a right. But they still want revenge, and or Chris Harris at least still wants revenge, and he still wants payback. And he differentiates that there's a difference between revenge and payback, and this essentially is the payback. So it's led to this Texas death match here. And for starters, what I liked about this match is pretty much everything. Right off the bat, there's way more intensity. He, uh, right, even just from the jump, even in the opening moments of this match with them brawling into the crowd, Harris repeatedly, uh, ramming James Storm's head into the guardrail up front, almost tossing him over the rail. And they said he'd be tossed out of the impact zone. Well, I wonder what happens if they leave the impact zone. But yeah. So right off the jump, way more intense than whatever that crap was at lockdown. Oh, and I imagine, and it's partially due to the fact that they're not tied to a silly gimmick this time, such as the blindfold match, so they're able to do a lot more and they're a lot less handcuffed, which is partially ironic because Chris Harris does bring out handcuffs. He even beckons James Storm to come out of the ring. Because James Storm does enter first, and he does beckon him to come out from the ring, and they absolutely tear the house down. They beat each other down. They bloody each other. Chris Harris being bloodied. I'm going to call. Oh, now that I'm doing a lot more of these reviews, I can kind of tell when blading takes place. I don't see the blading necessarily on camera. Thankfully, Chris Harris is a lot less obvious with it than others. But when Harris has his head hit with the steel chair when he's tied upside down on the on the turnbuckle, and James Storm just whomps him with the chair. In reality, he just hits the turnbuckle, but then Harris is busted open, and but nevertheless, Storm is busted open, possibly legit, because as Harris catapults him over. Or up through the table. So Storm sets the table up, and then Harris gets James underneath, and then kind of brings him up. So James Storm's head hits the table and it kind of goes flying. And this Texas death match, it's not like the ones we have nowadays, especially mainly in AEW. This is the pin and then 10 count format instead of just the 10 count format. And now, I forget what other match. I think, I want to say it was Macho Man versus DDP at Halloween Havoc 97, I believe. 97 or 98, that had kind of the similar rules. Well, let me look it up real quick because has been a while. Maybe that will be the next review. And that probably not Spring Stampede, Havoc. Um, believe this is it. Yeah. DP and Macho Man at the in the Las Vegas Sudden Death Match, aka the Texas Death Match, at Halloween Havoc 1997. So kind of similar to that rules where you pin and then you gotta get on your feet for the 10 count. Nowadays they just kind of remove that head entirely. Which I do, admittedly, I do kind of more familiar with the modern format, and I honestly I do kind of prefer it because it does kind of remind me of like the Last Man Standing matches that WWE does. But no, so there is that gimmick, and thankfully, it doesn't. There's not too many instances of that. It's a lot of action, so even though the action pauses briefly, it's not too long to where it ruins too much of the flow of the match. But just all kinds of shots and crazy moments. There's even a dive. This is before either man gets busted open. There's a huge dive from the top rope to the or the top turnbuckle to the outside where James Storm is in the crowd, and a poor security guard gets knocked over. But um, but yeah, stuff like that, and of course both men do get busted open, and eventually it culminates. It's with both James Storm and Chris Harris getting the beer bottle. Oh, a very symbolic beer bottle that kind of brought us here in the first place. Excuse me, but just like when Han shot first, Chris Harris manages to shoot first and nail James Storm with the beer bottle, and that's how he puts him away. He then gets the pin, and then the 10 count. Very symbolic ending, very crazy match. Honestly, it's not. Honestly, I can't even do it justice. In my description here, highly recommend checking it out. The full event, Sacrifice 2007, is on YouTube. Who so definitely check out this match. It was very bloody what both men put each other through. Who was very violent indeed, but all the props in the world to both men, more than makes up for the match at Lockdown. You know what, this was a hell of a match. Let's just put Lockdown behind us. As far as I'm concerned, Lockdown 2007, that blindfold match, that doesn't exist. In terms of what I didn't quite like as much about the match, and these are more so kind of nitpicks. And this is kind of why I prefer the more modern format / like the Last Man Standing. The pin and then raising up, especially with the announcer announcing that so and so's got the pin. Therefore, the opponent has 10 seconds to get up. That does break up the pacing somewhat. I mentioned it doesn't overstay; they don't do it too often, and but when it does happen, it does kind of break things up. Thankfully, they don't overuse it, but it is very noticeable and it does kind of ruin things a little bit. The other thing is Jackie, Jacqueline and slash Jackie. She's there accompanying James Storm. Thankfully, she doesn't interfere too much to be annoying, but she almost feels like a non-factor. She almost kind of feels there, but admittedly that's kind of nitpicky. And as soon as she interferes and like pulls Chris Harris off of James Storm, or Gail Kim shows up and takes her away. So her involvement, he kind of could have taken it left, but like I said, that's more of a nitpick because I didn't want her to get overly involved in the match. Just leave it between the two, and the fact that they did that is very nice indeed. And the other thing, and it's not really on this match is more so at the end. And as soon as the match is over, or the pin happens and everything, they immediately cut to the back to have to go with Sting and Christopher Daniels, who was also busted open, but that was earlier in the night. But immediately going from this match, it's like, oh, cool, this match is over. Now let's see what Sting and Christopher Daniels are up to. Because apparently, I guess Christopher Daniels and Sting kind of have a partnership in a way going on around this time. It's interesting to see where we are or at this time. I'm within any company, especially. But when I go to these matches and seeing all the stuff kind of surrounding it is interesting. But they do cut away from it. We do get some replays after the segment, which is nice. But it was also but it was kind of weird. Like, oh, here's this match that just ended. Oh, no, I'll immediately off to the back for this other thing, and like it almost feels like you couldn't have did the replays first, wrapped up the match in a nice bow, and then show the backstage stuff and I guess it shows more used to how it's done in modern day, because that type of stuff it happens. Don't get me wrong, it happens, but it doesn't happen too often. Usually the match ends, they show some of the highlights, the person who wins kind of celebrates for a little bit, and then they go to the next thing. But here, just immediately cut to the next thing. Oh, but now let's bring it back so we can play some replays. So like I said, that's not really on the match itself. That's more, I guess, a production thing, on the production side of things. But yeah, still hell of a match, fantastic, and yeah, Lockdown '07 who? Blindfold what? But in the meantime, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on this match, my review of this match. Do you like this match? Do you like my review of the match? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.